Go for it, Quincy.
We on?
Yeah, we on, man.
I suppose.
You do the intro, man.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna get into.
Well, I have a feeling we're not going to get into a whole lot of storylines.
I think Vine was in an abusive relationship one time, so I think we have to consider if we're going to kick him out of the podcast or not. You know.
So, you know.
All
I
right.
think one time in the fifth grade, he told to go to be quiet, so now you might have to leave the podcast. Hey, can you keep it down a little bit? What? How dare you?
Okay. Yeah, there's gonna be this. I have a feeling we're gonna have a.
I'm already upset.
This is not gonna
Quincy's
be
over there.
PC.
Quincy's over there throwing up. But my name's
No,
Wilson Young Baca.
I had to sneeze off camera so no one could accuse me of not practicing social distancing, even though we're on Zoom. Everyone's sensitive right now. You know what I mean?
Everyone's sensitive. So,
I was
welcome to
talking
Flow for the love of wrestling. What's
Oh
poppin'?
yeah. Let's do the intro. Okay.
Struggling. No, we're gonna keep all that in because it just shows where we're at right now. You know, nobody wants to say the wrong thing. Nobody wants to misspeak.
All right,
What's
so
going
yeah. No.
What an episode!
Go
It's
it,
for
go
the love
it.
of wrestling. This is the most well put together intro, open, cold open, whatever you want to call it, in the history of Triple Zoom podcast. And I'd like to think we're on top of that, gentlemen. And you know, looking from the top of the mountaintop, there's a lot of shit going on right now.
Amen. I like the fact that you think that you're at the top.
I said we're at the top.
Okay.
Either way, I'm flattered, man.
Not only.
How do you know? How do you know? I didn't say I was the base, and one of you guys are on my shoulders.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm so insecure. I'm just feeling a little anxious. The fact that I'm compared in the top, you know. So I have to say something for everybody off the set.
You know, first of all, Baca was talking about how Darby Allin is just like the worst human being ever.
I think there was one time where he got in a fight with his girlfriend, and he said, "Hey, I don't like the way you talk like that. I think you need to leave." And that I think that we need to kick him out of AEW. If we start the petition between us three, if we get 3 signatures, that's good enough for us to kick him out.
Well,
right?
I'm surprised Jimmy Havoc needs 1 signature at all. I mean,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Jimmy Uso hasn't got a speak out movement yet as well.
What are you talking about? He just likes a little bit of hair of the dog
a
now.
little bit of the bubble. I understand.
That's all. John Cena actually is known to have.
Whoa. Talk about toxic relationships.
Hold on.
Oh,
this is why I draw the line.
watch out! Hey,
this
you know
is why
what?
I draw the line.
Cena will never be outed because no one can see him. So
you're talking abusive relationship. He had Nikki Bella on a pretty strict household regimen, correct?
Man, you make it sound like it was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
So
Yeah.
we were talking. We've talked about this in the group chat this entire week. Everything going on, and one of the things I said was like, I find it interesting that everyone being accused or the allegations are always like indie guys or mid card guys, and then like 5 minutes later we find out Brock Lesnar flashed Terry Reynolds or something.
Yeah.
But isn't wrestling different? Didn't Randy Orton defecate in a woman's luggage?
Well, see, that's one of the points I brought up. Like I was potting with Doc last night. I was like, well, what about that admission that that story that Edge has, where it was like when he first came in and JBL, he was in the shower with JBL, and JBL just walked up to him and grabbed his junk and was like trying to get him to fold, and he was like trying to no sell it. And it's like, it's this story that I'm like, well, then should we cancel JBL or how does that work? You know what I mean?
I think people have been trying to cancel JBL for a couple of years now.
well, see, I've grown to have respect for him, but yeah, I
love JBL.
He was on my shit list for a while.
I think first we need to start off, even though we've already talked for about 5-10 minutes.
We started, buddy.
Is for the stuff that's actually true that's gone on, and the wrestlers being accused of, those are some terrible people.
100%.
And then, but then on this, what we're talking about is the stuff that people are now throwing in there, and like the Sammy G and the Darby Allin stuff that we're all putting in the same boat now.
Sammy G is kind of tough though.
Well, see, that's the thing. The thing is, like, he's came out. Like, I think that what makes him a little bit different.
Well, you have to tell the people what Sammy G said for the people that don't know.
He was on a podcast 4 years ago They had brought up the subject was, how his WWE tryout went. He was talking about who he saw there. And then he was like, oh, my God, Sasha Banks. Oh, I wanted to rape her. You know what I mean? He's came out since and was – and I remember this form of Sammy, and then this is before I really got to know him, is he was, like, doing a lot of shock comedy back then to try to pop the room. I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm just saying I'm pretty much, watering down some of his apology that he actually put out. But I think it is worth noting that the way he went about, how he got accused is a little bit different than everyone else because, he actually hit up Sasha. Sasha actually publicly, acknowledged it, which I can only imagine how WWE is like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to attach ourselves to anything like that. But, it's weird because –
But it happened in WWE, though.
I don't know if it happened in WWE. I don't know if you could say that because
WWE wrote him a check for that day. He was a stand-in.
Was it? Oh, was that what? Oh, yeah, it was for extra work, right?
He was doing extra work, so WWE cut him a check. So it's what he said didn't happen in the WWE move.
Yeah.
But him and Sasha being in the same area, that was.
Oh, that's what I was saying. I'm like, it's the footage came out too of the tryout or whatever it was. So it's like they can't really get away from it, especially when he mentions one of your top women's talent. You know what I mean? So the thing is with that is like me and Doc were talking like guys don't talk like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like even if this mic wasn't on, this camera wasn't on, and we were just talking about, hey, which one of the girls in the locker room you smash or whatever. That's how we'd say it, right? We wouldn't be like, yo,
you would have that vocabulary as opposed to
like, hey, man, but I'm gonna let you know right now, though, like back in the day, man, Miss Elizabeth, bless her soul, I would have raped. No one's saying it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Sable though, yo, if Brock Lesnar was alive, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, Mark Merrill messed that up, I would have raped. No one is saying that. It's just such a weird. So that's why when he comes with the shock comedy kind of. I don't want to say excuse, but, it kind of gives a little bit more background as far as where he was coming from, mind state-wise. Again, it's 4 years ago. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's inexcusable or excusable or whatever, but at the same time, I can't help but think how many times we'll watch a Dave Chappelle special or – I mean, and not to call Dave Chappelle out by name, but any comedian, to be honest, and they'll have a rape joke, and we laugh at it. But no one's canceling them. I mean, some comedians – obviously now getting canceled for other reasons, but not for their joke. You know what I mean? So that's why it's like, I feel like there's a double standard for sure, because it's like, it's a different form of performance.
I personally feel like he is victim would be the wrong word, but he is like a product of what the current speaking out movement is. And because this would be
collateral damage for sure.
Because I think AEW would still suspend him. AEW would still do everything, even if this did not happen this week. If this happened a couple weeks ago, to a month ago, or even a month from now,
beginning of the year,
he would still get disciplined. But the thing is, it's now my thing is I feel like he's being put in the same boat of a lot of these people who have done a lot more serious or have been at least accused of more serious things.
Exactly.
Not to say what he did wasn't serious.
Yeah.
But it's
I think what you're trying to say is those different boats. There's people that did awful things, and then those people like Darby Allin, who might have done the fight with his girlfriend, or Sammy that said some inappropriate things. You can't put those people in the same boat. I make this funny joke all the time. Somebody says, "Oh, well, I only did it one time," and they say, "Oh, okay, well, that's the defense I'm going to use when I get in front of the judge." Hey, I only killed one guy. I don't know what the big deal is, but obviously that's a joke. You can't put somebody saying an inappropriate joke in the same boat as somebody forcing themselves on top of another human being. It's just completely different.
Or being physically abusive continuously.
But the problem is when you use a hashtag, all of those allegations, doesn't matter if it's on the scale of 1 or on the scale of 10, they all go under the same umbrella. And people but then the casual fan, they're going to associate Sammy with being a sexual predator, somebody that's inappropriate. They're not going to look to see what he really said. Hey, I saw he was part of that hashtag. Let's cancel him. He's out.
Yeah. I think it's wrong. I mean, because, this is the irony of it, is there's been people who have been like kind of in response to the overreacting to like the Darby Allins, to like this. It's like again, Sammy, even if it wasn't blown up or it didn't happen to be blown up by this movement, I think a suspension still would have been apt. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
think people would have been
100%.
happy by that. You know what I mean? But with those two, I think there is, like you said, they're kind of getting swept into the same circle as all these other people.
That's
But
what a hashtag does. A hashtag puts everyone under the same umbrella. It doesn't matter what you did.
yeah, it's just I don't know,
And
man.
it also doesn't matter if you're guilty or innocent. Idealistically, what's
Yeah,
supposed to
it's
happen is you're
damaging. It's still
innocent
damaging.
until
Yeah,
proven guilty. But now with social media and the cancel culture, you're guilty until proven innocent.
So, like for
And even when
example,
you're proven innocent, they might not look at the innocent side. People might not hear about that. Go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good. I cut you off. So, what's happening is, for example, like in our group chat or the news we're reading, is like we'll start seeing like person speaks out on Darby Allin. Someone's Sammy G gets caught on blah blah blah, and we're like, oh wow, okay, what did he do? Because we're seeing the other stories, and then we're now going, and then we read these, and we're like, but some people don't actually read it. Some people just look at the headlines, and now people think like Darby Allin must have done something super serious, or Sammy G, and let me make it clear that like what Sammy G did was not right. It was not very
It's
mature.
not on the same scale as
But
these other guys.
Yeah.
what we're hearing what David Starr might have done, what Joey Ryan might have done,
yeah.
it's not on the same boat.
It's hard for me to keep up. I'm a diehard wrestling fan, but I'm not as deep in as you guys, and it's hard for me to keep up. So when you say some of these names, I'm like, well, what did this guy do? Well, what did this guy do?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm even doing that. Like I feel like
I'm gonna Google it right now.
like I don't feel like going on Twitter and just looking up at everything, you know. And some of it, and to be honest, like not to be this is gonna maybe sound like a very male or man answer, but I'm also very concerned about some of these guys' careers, and especially if they're being like falsely accused. But you know, so it's a little, and I'll admit, like it kind of sucks because like you're hearing all these names and you're a fan of some of these wrestlers that are being accused, and now you're like, man, now I can't mess with this guy anymore.
Well, I mean,
you can't walk down the T-shirt. You can't walk down the street with this Hot Topic T-shirt, right?
I mean,
right.
I think that's what the big issue.
I'm even thinking about like the allegations resurfacing with Velveteen and all that too. It's just like,
yeah.
And again, like to your point, if anything is being falsely like thrown in there, it's super duper damaging either way. It's really, I don't know. It sucks because it's like it's I don't know. It's hard to navigate right now because everything is so muddied and everything like that. I mean, again, in the case of someone like a Jimmy Havoc, that's kind of like a no-brainer. But I don't know what's going on with that in terms of how AEW is handling it. But yeah, man, I don't know. This shit's weird.
So I'm going to ask something because I am a big fan of his, and I can't find it online. What did Joey Ryan was accused of?
He was accused of just a lot of different,
almost everything.
Yeah,
having men grab his testicles.
Well, there's been some fans saying that he was inappropriate with them. Just him and David Starr were inappropriate with a fan, getting real grabby with them. I mean, I guess the guy was he was wearing he was testing he was just getting real comfortable with his sexuality. Was testing out what he was going to wear to the show. It was his first time going to the show. And he knew that there was this known gay pro wrestler, Effie, who was going to be there. So he felt a little bit, more, motivated and comfortable to try to put his stuff out there. So I think he had something with like the flag on it or something like that. And so that obviously tipped them off to like, his orientation or preference, whatever you want to call it. And I guess they were kind of just on some like, oh, you want to take a picture? You want to take a picture of grab my dick? Or do you want me to grab your dick? And then just like David Starr's behind him, like grabbing his ass, like, oh no, I think this guy's a bottom. You know what I mean? Like shit like that, where it's like, hey, this is not a fan experience anymore.
Yeah. So when I googled his name, AEW is scrubbing all footage of Joey Ryan from being the Elite, and he's been fired from Impact, and
so you're saying
looks
that
like the
Adam
guy
Cole
might be done.
Or Adam Page really had a match with a ghost at all?
No, that just never happened. That gets stricken for the record. But let's. I think we shifted to something more positive.
Well, you know what's crazy is what else came out is an old report about Taz. back
Oh,
in
I didn't see
I
that. What
didn't, I
happened with
didn't hear that
Taz?
one.
See, this is
He
where it
actually-
never ends, right? Oh, what
he-
happened with this guy? Oh, then this guy
he-
happened,
he
and
was-
it never ends.
It's like you can't root for anybody anymore because you're not sure what's
Dude,
going to come out.
Yeah.
It was an old report. It was in '94. He was at some like tanning salon, so that kind of checks out when it's Taz
Mm-hmm.
with his dark
Isn't
ass.
Taz? I thought Taz was. Isn't he of Latin heritage?
His name is Peter.
He's not a-
Sinacchia.
He's not just a white guy, right?
I have no idea. His name is Peter. His real
See,
name
now I
is
gotta
Peter.
Google this one too, man.
Is it Sinurchia or Peter Sinurchia?
He's from the Bronx, man. He's from
Is
PK,
he?
right? He's from Brooklyn.
Or is he from? Well, I thought it was Red Hook section of Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, Brooklyn.
But supposedly he was at a. Oh, no, that's not supposedly. It's what happened. He got arrested because he was at a tanning salon, and he flashed some girl that was there, that was working there, and didn't know that she was 16.
Oh shit.
I googled what is Taz's ethnicity, and it said that Taz, they formerly lived in Russia. They were formed in the 1890s. So I think I need to add in wrestler for this to pop up. See, I'm in that wrestling bubble. I think Google just knows what I'm talking about.
It's like Google wrestle. Like
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's a shame, dude.
Well,
This says I googled what is Taz's ethnicity wrestling, and this person popped up. He's from Red Hook, Brooklyn. That nigga's 200% black. So I don't know, which is it's tough, and it really does. Heaven forbid you were the wrong. And we're not the victims here. If somebody did something bad, they should be filed. They should be.
The scumbags should be dealt with for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's like, I mean, you got promotions like Progress shutting down.
Yeah.
To totally restructure everything, so it's deep.
Same thing with NWA as well. NWA stopped all filming. Yeah, and the same dude, right here in Hollywood Wrestling, they film it right here in Oxnard. My friend, one of my DJs, is a cameraman. They said they shut down everything as well because of everything going on. So they need to restructure it with executives, with writers, want to make sure everything's 100. It's already a tough enough time as it is because of COVID, wrestling with no fans, and now you had this on top of it, which, I guess if we're going to burn the whole industry down, we might as well take everyone down at once and build them up.
WWE released Travis Banks today, I believe, or yesterday.
And El Ligero as well.
We don't watch NXT UK.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
Does anybody watch NXT UK?
I've watched a few of the pay-per-views that they had, the takeovers.
You know what? I think about this a lot. They should really make you a spokesman for like NXT and things like that, because if you say, hey, this guy watches NXT UK, he watches NXT, he watches SWA, you gotta think this guy must never leave his mom's basement. But you're this tall, handsome black rapper that doesn't have a hard time with the ladies. They should push you to the spot. They say, hey, you want to be a fan, you could be just like this guy.
I don't know if I want to work for that racist company. Oh, well that you know what? It's funny because that actually brings me back to the point I was going to make earlier, and I told you.
Which one's the racist company? I think wrestling is naturally racist, right?
Well, I think there is an underlining.
I'm not saying it's okay, but it's had a long reputation.
Okay,
racist.
let me get into it, because that's another point that Doc had that we were talking about yesterday, not on the podcast, but just like in general, is because we were bringing up people overreacting to Sammy and Darby and other people, but like one thing that someone was saying in response to that is, what about Vince? Why aren't we canceling Vince? Vince has done so much jacked up stuff. And mind you, this is not my narrative, but it's like, but there's a point being made. It's like, this guy dropped the N-bomb on live TV. You know what I mean? This guy, he's definitely appropriated a lot of stuff for the, at the sake of entertainment. He's done a lot of dirty shit. You know what I mean? On screen, off screen, that we all know of. So it was one of those narratives that I never even thought about. And it's then this person was going off saying the only reason why we're not canceling them is because you still want to watch wrestling on Mondays and Fridays. And I'm like, first of all, nobody's watching SmackDown, so that's already a lie. Second of all, Monday is already bad enough. We're waiting for Wednesdays. You don't even know what you're talking about.
I think Mondays the last two weeks have been actually pretty good.
I've heard SmackDown's been really good, and I've even been like, but is it still worth watching? I'm not there yet.
Which one, SmackDown?
Yeah, I heard SmackDown's been pretty good.
I couldn't help but think about you remember how watchable SmackDown was when it was Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, doing the commissioner, general manager thing, and you had Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley. You had like AJ Styles. Like, that was the show everybody wanted to watch every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it Tuesday? Probably Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday when they originally did the rebrand split. Well, Stephanie was in charge of Mondays, Shane was in charge of Tuesdays, and Tuesdays shine, right? And it was a home of you had a chance. You
The
had a
land of
chance to step
opportunity.
out.
Yeah.
The land of
There
opportunity.
you
Thanks
go.
for clearing that up.
Yeah.
I've been drinking since 11. I've been drinking since 11 o'clock, so it's a little fuzzy.
11 o'clock last
But
night.
you know,
11 o'clock
11
last
this
night.
morning, trying to get through the day. But it really was entertaining. But the last 2 months, SmackDown and Raw have just been maybe 4 months now.
I'll
They've just
admit,
been unbearable to watch, man.
Even
But I think the last
NXT to a
couple of weeks
little
they really
bit.
stepped it up.
Even
Well-
NXT to an extent is like, I'll admit, like, the main event was alright, but it was worth watching in my opinion this week. But I didn't really care too much for the rest of the card at all.
For NXT.
Yeah.
I mean, there were certain matches that they made for next week that I was like, all right. Like for instance, I was like, does Rhea need? Like, I'm not against Rhea helping somebody, like, you know, pushing someone right now
Mm-hmm.
in the form of what they're doing with, you know, Rob Stone and that whole thing. But I'm like, should it be Aaliyah? I mean, because she has nothing to hang her hat on at all. And
Right.
she's not established as anything in as far as like getting a win and stuff like that. So it's like, I can't help it. Somebody else, maybe like Chelsea Green, if she didn't, or if she, you know what I mean, she didn't already split from Rob Stone, probably could have had a better spot right there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the triple threat was worth it. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't watch too much of Monday Night Raw, but what I did watch was I love the character development. I mean, I did see Dominic got involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know Young Baka has a brand new role model to look forward to in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Who's that? Dominic?
yeah.
I like Dominic. Dominic's cool. I don't know if
He's
he's my role
he's
model,
taller
but
than you. You better like him.
all
Well,
right. How tall is Dominic? Dominic's about 6'4".
I think he's like at least like he's probably this big. He could play ball, huh?
so
Probably.
speaking of Dean Ambrose and John Moxley and all that, he might possibly have to be quarantined for a while because his wife.
Well, he
I think he is, right?
from what I heard, and you guys always say I got these special these special sources. I don't.
Dominic is 6 feet tall. I just Googled it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so he's maybe 2 inches shorter than me.
Yeah, but he looks like he's 40 inches taller than
He
his
looks like a
dad.
beast, man. Oh, yeah. He's going to look tall when he stands next to his 3-foot dad, right?
Yeah.
Hey, maybe Eddie Guerrero was onto something. Maybe Dominic's father might be in question of who it really is. Listen, I would pop if they bring that storyline back. If somebody mentions that maybe Eddie was right about who his dad was, if Seth says that, I'm on board. Sign me up.
I can see Dominic just saying like the wrong dad won, and then just like puts him down. Yeah. So the thing with John Moxley is Renee did test positive for COVID-19. Mox was around someone who had been around someone that had COVID-19 positive. They wanted him to quarantine in a hotel by himself, but he said no, because he didn't want to run the risk of what do you say, affecting anybody else at the hotel. So I guess he's just going to quarantine at home. I don't know how that's going to go with him and his wife.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about it, it might be like a month quarantine if the numbers like stagger.
That's true.
But you know what I mean? So like, if for whatever reason her 14 days are up and then he were to test,
That's positive, and it goes back and forth, right? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
So they both have to. They both realistically, what the World Health Organization will want you to do is you both stay in the house together for what is it, 2 weeks, and then if you get a negative test, you're good to go. But if you get a negative test and your partner gets a positive test, then they want you to stick around for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, he has
I'm skilled every day
almost
that I
exactly.
have Corona, man.
Yeah.
I'm scared every day.
Sometimes
Every time
I wake up, my chest is a little sore or something. I'm like, oh shit, it's happening.
It's
No, I ain't coughing. That's not me at all. I don't. There's dust in this room. That's what that was.
It is a scary time, and then every podcast you watch, every TV show you watch, that's all they talk about. And you drill in your mind and say, "Hey, I'm coughed
sorry,
2 days ago. Maybe I'm on."
But this podcast got to talk about it because obviously,
this is the more positive thing, right?
I got sources, right? That's what you guys say.
Yeah.
Because one of my sources did send me this transcribed anonymous email sent from somebody in WWE describing the horrible work environment going on over there. If you guys would like for me to read from it, let me know.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Now that WWE has more talent and staffers starting to test positive, we've been informed by talent relations not to discuss our illness with anyone besides those we may live with that may need to know. We are forbidden in all caps to tell anyone else, nor can we come out publicly to make any statements. It was stressed that WWE will take care of any medical treatments should we need them. In the same breath, it was made clear the company would handle the PR and only those that needed to know about our condition would know, as HIPAA laws would prevent them from making our names public. While I appreciate WWE's assistance helping those of us during these unprecedented times, WWE put us in this position in the first place. They continue to tape multiple shows a day that average 10 to 12 hours plus for at least 2, sometimes 3 days in a row. Those in the audience are kept in air-conditioned tents away from the active talent and staff that are housed in other sets of tents on PC property. Most people were not tested until last week, and as we were told, they didn't believe the validity of some of the testing being done. They figured that they would have their own so-called testing, which included temperature checks and a medical evaluation form, but no testing for COVID-19. Look where that got them now. Some people were asked to invite friends, family, and some fans they befriended to attend shows at the PC. How do you think they feel now? Knowing potentially they put those they regarded as close to them in harm's way. And yes, it was true that Kevin Dunn did not allow fans to wear masks and made a scene twice over the PA to not wear masks. It's a shame these people came out to support the talent and the company they love and were treated this way. And yeah, in closing, I would like to give you some information on our medical screening process, as most have been calling it questionnaire. One of the questions asked us, have we done anything that would put ourselves at risk for contracting COVID-19? That includes being around large gatherings of people and not wearing masks, where it suggested that we do so. Some have attended packed beaches, parties, and recently opened amusement parks here in Florida. They know better than to post pictures on their social media accounts, as they shouldn't be attending those locations in the first place. They'll talk about it where they've gone, but won't mention it when it comes to being screened on the questionnaire. It's very unfortunate that WWE puts business first and the health and safety of everyone second. We will come together. I cannot say the same thing about WWE management. The train is not only off the tracks, but has, quote, gone off the cliff in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a really tough time. That guy seems like he's super happy to be working for WWE.
Or girl.
Go. You're right. Or binary.
Come on, bro.
You're right. I apologize. I'm trying to get it correct, man. I'm working.
This show is fluid, okay? This show's real fluid.
It's tough, man. You know, and I did see that they invited family and friends, and you see these spots where the guys break the barricade and they end up in the fans' laps. You know, they break the hockey glass.
The Street Profits, you know, they always go into the crowd.
Yeah.
And they were in the crowd. None of them had a mask on. And I'm like, okay, this is and you know, they're not 6 feet. So
they're the tag champions, so they have to be on TV.
Yeah, I mean,
black people can't get the Rona. Remember when people said that black people couldn't get the Corona?
Well, no, they said that we can, bro, because you
know,
if you have diabetes,
first couple weeks they were saying black people can't get it, man.
Oh no, yeah, I remember there was someone that was like, it's wrong. You can't get it. I'm like, damn, this is not a good video.
Yeah, man, it's super tough times. Like I said, like we make a joke about maybe let's talk about something more positive, but every time you turn on the news, it's Corona, and then there's racism, and then the speaking out movement as well. It's just it's tough.
It's too much, Ren. Like it's just
really
a lot.
tough, yeah.
I mean, the thing with WWE is, from what I mean, because you know, we had heard like around WrestleMania time that someone did test positive around that weekend. But it's amazing to know that even when they found that out, since then, they hadn't been doing any kind of testing.
Yeah. So UFC and AEW have been doing the actual COVID test. And now WWE is going to start this week.
Well,
I can't imagine why they wouldn't have this whole. I mean, you know,
they got the cash, right?
If we're looking at this from a bigger picture thing too, also just Florida in general having very laxed protocol on how they should handle the COVID thing, and then WWE who would love to have their very lax protocol on the COVID thing. those two things mixing together, I think, have created this like shitstorm.
Huge snowball, yeah, 100%.
And it may lead to Florida eventually having to be more strict. We'll see if Florida pulls it off. We'll have to be more strict, and we'll see if the WWE can even do tapings at certain
We
point.
need Hulk Hogan to just make a promo and tell everyone to wear a mask, dude. You know, and then everyone would
wear
do
a
it.
mask or wear a white hoodie.
You know what I mean? Then we need Rick Ross. We need all the pillars of Florida to come together and start making some promos, man. Because there was a talent that came in that was uncontracted. That just came to do, I think, extra work. I think he got beaten in a squash
the
match.
MLW guy or something
and yeah, he got tested positive, dude. I'd be pissed.
Did you see what he said? He said, "Hey, if anyone could put me in contact with Renee Young to see how she's handling the situation."
Hey, I don't like that because he's insinuating.
He's trying to He's
trying to insinuate that there was something there.
I think now he's trying to use. This is the first time he's had this much eyes on him, so now he's trying to extend it, right? Put me in touch with Renee Young, or he's trying to make something happen. You know?
That's true.
So that's what I don't like. And Florida just announced today that they would no longer sell alcohol at bars. So they're hoping that will decrease the amount of people going to bars and things like that. And it's getting scary out there. Imperial County in California, just the governor suggested they re-intact a new stay-at-home movement. Imperial County is like San Diego, Encino, all that stuff down there. So
yeah, I heard that they were trying to, as a way to help enforce the mask, you know what I mean, mandate is they're saying people that aren't going to be doing it or respecting it, they're going to like withhold funding from certain counties and stuff too. I was like,
yeah,
damn,
that's crazy.
But
you should get a fine if you don't have a mask in public, right?
Bro, I'm dealing with that at work, and it's been hard because there's people.
It's annoying, right? It has to be annoying.
Because the reason why we got to wear a mask is because it's required by our work, but we're wearing it for you.
What city do you work in?
Chino Hills.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, because everyone's rich over here, and they want. There's a lot of Karens over here. We'll just say that.
Nobody tells me what to do, especially not a black man looking like you. You ain't gonna tell me what to do.
That I know Susie from the homeowners, and we ain't standing for this, and we about to mob up.
Yeah, that's what it all is, man.
We'll see if you keep that same energy when it's Girl Scout cookie season, bitch. But I know we're winding down here. But I definitely want to thank you guys for coming together. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about and try to dissect. This week, I'm not excited what's going on next week because I feel like there's just another chapter in this never-ending saga.
It never ends, man. Just never ends. 2020, the year that never ends.
But make sure you follow Young Baka Productions. Make sure you follow the Awkward Side Hug podcast, as well as follow myself, The Quincy Jones Show. Until next time, this has been For the Love of Wrestling, The Flow Show.
Peace.